What's up? Welcome back to the booth. Riley Knight, Simon Goetz, and the Pro Tour champion alongside me, and the players are ready down in the feature match area. Let's not muck about. We'll get down to the floor right now, see how things go between Team Wales and Team Poland. Let's get to it. Hello, my friends, and welcome to live coverage of the World Magic Cup live out of Nice in France. It's my great pleasure to welcome you back to our quarterfinal coverage. My name's Riley Knight, and I'm joined, as always, by Simon Goetz, the Pro Tour champion, a good friend of mine, and we are going to get underway here with Poland on the right-hand side of your screens versus Wales on the left. These guys have put together a terrific campaign over the weekend. Some of the most amazing matches of Magic we've ever seen, Simon. And now they're playing for everything, trying to get through to the semi-finals.
In these outfits, too.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah. Wales, one of the teams that was awarded the Spirit Award here on day number 1 of the World Magic Cup. They came in dragon onesies, which is, if it isn't already the national costume of Wales, it will shortly be there. I imagine we'll have a spokesperson from the Welsh government talking about it before too much longer. Here is Pip Griffiths. He is, of course, the Welsh captain, has been for a number of years, and his opponent on Ramunap Red is already turning the screws on Pip here.
Yeah, this is a mirror matchup, but Philip is on Desert Red. So he's playing the slightly more value-oriented version and has access to 3 Sand Stranglers in the main deck.
The Ramunap Red mirror match is, well, not quite what we're looking at here, is the fact that Pip Griffiths is going a fair bit bigger. Griffiths here on that Ben Stark tip. We saw Stark almost take down a GP the other week, Simon, with a much bigger build. You know, we've seen big red decks in the past, and this is sort of harking back to that.
Yeah, and that must be because you were so much banking on playing against Ramunap Red that you just wanted to go one step slower.
So, Treasure Map, one of these cards that pushes the red deck into the late game. A weird kind of source of card advantage. We don't often see this in mono red decks, but Treasure Map will draw you a lot of extra cards. It's going to take you a long time to get there, but hey, the value's there.
Yeah, you just have to make sure not to spend too much tempo on it. Extra cards are not how this matchup is being won. You first need to get the board under control, although a single Bombard courier not that scary.
So, Catch Mazik here. Bomad Courier going to be joined with a Rampaging Ferocidon. Bit of a slower start here for Kazmazik, although I guess dealing with that Earthshaker Kenra was a nice move from Griffiths here. He's still got that 1-2-3 curve out.
Both players with really, really great curves. It's always a good sign if you're using all of your 6 mana in the first 3 turns fully.
Griffiths, Soulscar Mage in hand, along with a Braid here. So he's got some options to play with. Lightning Strike rounding out the cards in the hands of the Welsh captain. Some pretty high emotion coming from these guys yesterday in their match against the United States in the final round. Before we made the cut to top 8, it is must-watch Magic, ladies and gentlemen. If you didn't get across what happened yesterday, you must go and see it. This match lasted for nearly 2 hours. It was a marathon between the Americans and the Welsh, and wow, emotions were running high. These guys, a lot of passion for the game, a lot of passion for the success of the team. They've worked very hard to be here, and I imagine, Simon, they're going to make the most of every minute.
Oh, absolutely. And here, Philip has to feel confident in his deck's ability to win the pseudo mirror match.
Kachmachik here. Bomad Courier going to pick up another card. Little postal boy doing the mail. And Griffiths, well, with a chance to respond here. He's got a couple of different options when it comes to removal, Simon. What are you looking at here?
Yeah, he kept open 3 mana to play a removal spell and have that treasure map activation. And he actually goes for the Bombard Courier because he simply doesn't want to give Radek his form of card advantage.
So Griffiths with the lightning strike. Bomat Courier trigger on the stack by the look of things, and Griffith with a choice to make. Oh, sorry, Kazmachik with a choice to make here. The lone lightning strike in hand means that he isn't going to be able to deploy it and pick up the new card from the Courier. So he opts to just let the cards hit the exile zone. The Bomat Courier hits the graveyard, and his creatures hit Griffiths for 5.
And a castable lightning strike certainly better than a random card that you wouldn't be able to cast.
Treasure map goes up to 2 here. Are we going to see the Soulscar Mage gotten rid of here, Simon, or are we going to wait a little bit on this lightning strike?
Oh, Radek was going to wait. He made sure that the Soulscar Mage can't block this turn. So this gives him the full information when Philip goes into his turn. Radek can still decide, does he want to deal with the Soulscar Mage, or does Philip have something better to kill?
Treasure map. Looks like we're going to go the upkeep scry as well here for Griffiths. Griffiths, a mainstay of the World Magic Cup team. He's led the Welsh into this tournament many, many times in the past, Simon. He's done it here again, and this is a great performance from these guys.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have to be honest. They were the underdogs in Wales versus the USA.
Mm-hmm.
And they played really good, long, drawn-out games of Magic, and ultimately they won. They made it into the top 8, and that's why they're here.
There was this moment I'd like to share with people. I don't know if people saw this on the stream. It may have been difficult. I was stood behind these guys as they were battling against the United States, and there was a moment where Sam Rolfe, as he was poised to win against Reed Duke, his hand actually went down and just sort of squeezed Pip Griffith's hand just under the table there, being like, we are so close and we've got this. We've done this together. And it was a very, very special, unassuming moment between these two guys who have really worked so hard, along with the third, of course, with Aaron Boyhan. These guys have they've won the hearts and the minds of many in the Magic community so far with just, the spirit they've brought to this tournament, the energy they've brought, along with many of the other nations as well here. But that was something that just really showed me, wow, these guys are, they're real-life humans with beating hearts and emotion soaring through their chests at that stage, and they got there. So, of course, many people very happy for them. Trading blows here, Griffiths and Kazmachik here.
Yeah, we saw Radek use his lightning strike on Karizev, and Philip used his removal spell on Radek's creature. But this meant that Philip had to sacrifice 2 of his treasures. So that's like 2 extra cards that he is not going to see.
Not exactly the general deployment you'd see of these treasure tokens, but Griffith's very ready to use all the tools that he can, and this means a Glorybringer is going to come to the party here, Simon. The 4/4 coming down and can clean up that Earthshaker Kenra as well, if Griffith so chooses. Kazmachik, the lone lightning strike in hand, it's been there for a while, doesn't do too much against the Glorybringer.
No, he doesn't have many ways to deal with a Glorybringer in game 1 overall.
So, considering the attack here, Griffiths.
In fact, he isn't the player with the Chandras in the Polish lineup. He can only draw cut to ribbons to get rid of a Glorybringer.
Wow. So his back's against it here. No way to cast that ribbons either. So, Glorybringer comes in. Looks like it's not going to be exerted. Looking to just go for the pure damage race here with Griffiths. And I tell you what, when you got a 4/4 Flying Haster, certainly going to get the job done. So ring of the doorbell here for Kazmachik, and it's a delivery of glory. It's been brought right to him by the dragon here. Take a punch, down to 12. And Griffiths, he's sitting on a Soulscar Mage in hand. And Simon, as you mentioned, not the typical deployment of treasure tokens after the flipping of the treasure map into Treasure Cove. Usually we'll see it slowly pick away, extra cards, one a turn. But here, Griffiths just wanting to get ahead. He's wanting to get it done.
And this is not a control matchup. So Griffiths knows that if he can get a Glorybringer onto the battlefield, that's probably worth more than some extra cards. It's basically winning him the game. And Radek just has very few outs to actually stabilize this board.
Kazmachik. Quick sketch on the live pad there. Maybe writing down some of his ideas for later on. Quick letter home to Mum. I did it. I'm in the top 8. You proud of me? Poland. See what the players here. Looks like it might be a lightning strike. Another mountain in hand here for Kazmachik, who has not had the best draw, it's fair to say. And the Earthshaker Kenra comes across, but I tell you what, Pip Griffiths, fresh card off the top, Soulscar Mage in hand, firing on all cylinders, Kazmachik, hellbent, and in comes Glorybringer once again. The door quickly closing on Kazmachik as he falls behind in life total as well here, Simon. And a Sand Strangler, get that out of here. Back to you.
Yeah, that's the card that I was looking for. I think Sand Strangler in the main really turns this matchup around. If you can imagine the Ramunap Red player playing a Rampaging Ferocidon and then being answered by a Sand Strangler, that's the cleanest 2-for-1 I can think of.
And it does do some work as a 3-3 afterwards. Of course, it blocks all the 2-power creatures on the board that the opponent can bring to bear. And Kazmachik recognizing the writing on the wall. And Pip the Magic Dragon, he's done it. Game number 1 goes the way of the Welsh. He's got to be very happy with that in the aggro mirrors. Obviously draw dependent and can be very, very, swingy in the way that this game is approached. And, of course, Pip Griffiths will be very happy to have got up in game number 1, Simon. As we take a quick break, my friends, we've got to take a break and we'll be back, of course, after these commercials. Don't go anywhere. More of Poland versus Wales coming your way before too much longer. Live here from the World Magic Cup in Nice.
Somebody made a pitch for Vampire Conquistadors, and that was the very bare bones nugget of Ixalan coming into being. If all you're doing is playing the card game, you're seeing that world through a bunch of tiny little windows. The art book is a view into who these characters are, what they're doing here, how these cultures fit together.
I mean, I'm super proud of this world. James and I both worked on it really closely, so I think it's going to be amazing, and I think once it finally hits, the fans are going to be blown away.
Play Standard to win special Standard Showdown prize boosters. Ixalan Standard Showdown events are hosted by local stores every day of the week except Friday. Find a location to play at magic.wizards.com/Standard Showdown.
Welcome back to live coverage of the World Magic Cup. Coming at you, Cleopatra, out of Nice in France. My name's Riley. I'm joined by Simon Gertzen, a Pro Tour champion and German superstar in his own right. We're going to head over to our next match here between Sam Rolfe and Peter Glukhovsky. Simon Glukhovsky will be a name known to many throughout the world. He's a very, very prominent streamer, streams under the name of Canister, and has a rampaging fan base that I'm sure will be getting around him today, as indeed will the rest of his nation, Poland. a proud country and certainly have hit their straps this weekend. Sam Rolfe, on the other hand, blue-black control, and a masterful effort from him yesterday. He took down Reed Duke in no uncertain terms, and right now, well, he seems to be in a decent spot as well.
Yeah, this is a super interesting matchup to me because white-blue cycling doesn't really do anything until it has a Drakehaven onto the battlefield. But if Piotr manages to land one of them, actually in this game he has two, that's actually really scary for the control player.
Torrential Gearhulk is going to be met with a settle the wreckage from Glukhovsky, who really is threatening to turn the corner on this match. Essentially, any cycling card he has, he can pay an extra 2 and gain 2 2/2 flyers at instant speed. It's insane. Drakehaven is a card that has just been begging to be broken, and this weekend we've really seen it shine, Simon. Often it's been held down by Teamer Energy, it's been held back by Ramunap Red, but as a third deck, it's been a hugely viable. It's had a great weekend.
Yep, I picked it as my card of the day on Friday night because I was just so surprised to see some of the best teams in the building identify Drakehaven as one way to attack this metagame.
So, Swamp searched out here for Sam Rolfe. He's on straight blue-black control. This is a deck that hasn't been high on the radar of many people playing recently, as we see a Sensor cycled away here for Rolfe. But it gets the job done. It's got some very powerful cards, some of the best removal in the format, and of course, topping things off with Torrential Gearhulk, one of the real end bosses of Standard.
Absolutely, and look at this crazy game. Sam has Piotr down to 9, but he just lost his attacker. He lost his Torrential Gearhulk to settle the record. Piotr has 2 Drakehavens in play. That's exactly what you want in this kind of matchup. But Piotr doesn't have cards to discard. He doesn't have a cycler. He's only holding a single island.
Torrential Gearhulk now for Sam Rolfe, cast off of those unstable basics. Look at this, bit of a bonus for the guys who made it into the top 8. All of the basics in their decks have been replaced by these new cards here. And, wow, I mean, it's a pleasure for us to get a little bit of a preview on these cards. And I know people around the world are going to want to get their greasy mitts on them as soon as they release December 8th, I think it is. I know that you'll be down at your unstable pre-release.
Absolutely, yes.
You've been getting across them. I've been getting daily texts from Simon about these cards as they've been previewed over the last couple of weeks. Renewed faith from Glukhovsky, and it results in 2 Drakes. He's going to hope this chains into further cycling cards here, Simon.
Exactly. You, of course, you can't assume that you'll just draw Cycler into Cycler, but this deck is built to maximize Drakehaven.
2 flyers. And do we see the block here? Rolfe considering his options before this next step is taken. Glukhovsky has to preserve his life total at least a little bit. That renewed faith was a nice buffer getting him back into the old double digits here, but still somewhat precarious when your opponent's flashing in Gearhulks.
Exactly, and you don't want to be on defense with your Drakehaven tokens. Against Blue-Black Control, it's already quite difficult to fight through all these removal spells that Sam otherwise can't use. So chump blocking Gearhulk is really not on your list.
Sam Rolfe, consigned to oblivion in hand, and I was so surprised to see how well this card went yesterday, Simon. It is a card that you're sort of looking at, oh yeah, it's whatever. It's a powered up unsummoned to get rid of a non-land permanent, whatever else, but wow, it did some work. I mean, bouncing stuff like you can see on this battlefield, it's a straight up kill spell against the Drakes, and it also can do what we're going to see right now. Bounce a cast out back to the hand, get a Scarab God back, and now that Glukhovsky isn't able to recast the cast out, that means that Rolfe can get some value with his Scarab God before, Glukhovsky has a chance to respond.
Does give him a cycling card, though. If he wants, he can just make 2 Drake tokens with it.
That is true. That is true. So Glukhovsky with a few more options here. Looks like I don't know if there's anything under that other cast out here. So Rolfe now. He can cast Oblivion, actually. As we see Essence Extraction on one of the Drakes. I wouldn't be surprised. He flashes back the Oblivion here. No? Something else going to be popped on the grill here. 4 mana. And it is of Vraska's Contempt. So Rolfe just looking to get some damage in here, Simon. Almost enough. Puts him down to 1. Glukhovsky. He's going to have to find something very special here. Wow. That Search for Azcanta should flip next turn.
And did he bounce the cast out end of turn?
Mm-hmm.
That explains why Piotr's under so much pressure here.
We are going to see the cast out cycled away and double drakes coming down as well.
Yeah, I don't think that's a surprise. Piotr has to survive here.
But Rolf has at least one fatal push that's going to take care of one of the 2-2s. And so we're going to see a block lined up here, but Glukhovsky still taking 6. He was looking to go down to 1, but he is going to buffer his life total just a little bit with that block there. And Rolf pushing further and further ahead here. So, search for Azcanta. Trigger, trigger, trigger. Let's have a look. It's a plains on the top. And Glukhovsky seems to be considering it. Seems like a pretty easy decision to me as the Azcanta expedition is successful and explorers return with news of the sunken ruin. So, Glukhovsky has a few more options here in finding the cars that he needs now that Azcanta, the sunken ruin, has arrived on the battlefield here, Simon.
And this means that he will probably never run out of cyclers, which is super important to win this game with the Drake tokens, or to first stabilize. What he really wants is another settle the wreckage. He has to resolve it through the permission that Sam Rolf might be holding.
Yes, Rolf indeed himself has an Azcanta, the sunken ruin as well, and right now not holding anything that's going to be too devastating for Glukhovsky. Hand of Fatal Push, Essence Extraction, and Essence Scatter, none of which are fantastic cards in this matchup.
No, in particular, Essence Scatter is not what he wants. Fatal Push and Essence Extraction, we've already seen how aggressively he's willing to trade those for Drake tokens because he knows he needs to get in damage and he knows he doesn't have better ways to utilize these cards anyway.
I mean, that's exactly it. We're looking at a deck that has 0 main deck creatures. We're looking at a deck where a Fatal Push and Essence Extraction can't do any better than targeting, the odd Drake token here and there. Irrigated Farmlands cycled away. And Glukhovsky continues to try to keep his snoot above water here. Ships the turn. Makes a couple of Drakes. And it's back to Rolf. Are we going to see the Drake comeback tour? Are we going to see sold-out shows around the world? As Drakes look to turn the corner here for Glukhovsky, Rolf's going to do everything he can to prevent that from happening here. So, the Welsh player now. He's a very cautious, very deliberate, and very precise player indeed. We saw him yesterday in the feature match area, more than once demonstrating a very cold and calculated knowledge of the game. Essence Extraction on the Drake here.
Almost a repeat of the previous turn.
And a Fatal Push on the other Drake as well. Did he give Glukhovsky the opportunity to block?
No. Before blockers,
I see.
He dealt with the creatures. Piotr was going to block, and then Sam cast his spells.
So we have this is a nice one for Glukhovsky. This is just about the best card to cycle in this situation. Gain 2 life, gain 2 Drakes, and this means now that Glukhovsky will be in a position to line up some blocks as he goes up to 8. This is a long, hard slog here for Canister, but he's doing his very, very best, Simon.
And he's also drawing towards the 1 copy of Abandoned Sarcophagus in his deck, which allows him to cast the cards with cycling from his graveyard.
Has he only got 1?
He
Only got
has
1 Sarcophagus.
Well, if you draw through your deck,
You only need 1. Yeah, very good point. Abandoned Sarcophagus, a key piece of the late game plan of the white-blue cycling deck. It means in many cases that you just draw 7, 8, 9, 10 cards out of your graveyard. Effectively, they're in your graveyard, but you can still cast them. The Sarcophagus can really take things over the limit here. We'll see if Glukhovsky can find it. That'd be a game changer here. Off the top, what was it? Deep, he slammed that into his hand nice and quick. We'll get an update as soon as we can. But speaking of updates, on table B, it was in fact Poland that got up in their first game. So things on the back tables, they're even enough. 1 game to Wales, 1 game to Poland. And this means that right now there's not a team that has a clear advantage. Glukhovsky now. Oh, a Fumigate. All right. So, destroy target Torrential Gearhulk.
Not great, right? It's just something to buy time, which is, to be fair, is what everything that Piotr has been doing until now. He would be much happier with Settle the Wreckage, but at this stage, you have to take what you can get.
So Fumigate does come down, going to gain him 2 more life. We've seen him drop as low as, I think 6, and he's now all the way back up to 10. And this is, of course, only a temporary answer for the Scarab God, as Rolf will have it returned to his hand in this end step. It means it'll come down again, but critically, it won't attack. So Glukhovsky does still, of course, have that as counter the Sunken Ruin. I think he's holding another search for it, a useless card now that he has in fact found it.
It's not completely useless, but he doesn't want to play it. It's actually better for him to just activate Ascanta itself and see what he can find. If Sam ever wants to cast Oblivion from his graveyard, then Piotr actually gets the extra chance to activate Drakehaven. Because it doesn't matter how you discard the card. You would get extra drakes from that.
Bit of a blank ski off the top here for Sam Rolf as he draws an Essence Scatter. But he does have that as counter online. And here comes, boom, the Scarab God comes down once again, making a strong entrance to the battlefield. 4 cards off the top for Glukhovsky. What can he find? He's looking for a Cycler, and I think he's got one in Hieroglyphic Illumination.
Actually, an interesting spot. Cycling that gives you 2 drakes. You do get 1 card less, but this is actually not about cards because whenever you can save mana, you actually get to activate Ascanta, which holds for Piotr, but also for Sam, who, as you can see here, he can get back a Gearhulk, but he could also activate Search for Ascanta.
So, Torrential Gearhulk comes down thanks to the ability from the Scarab God. This is going to flash back a Consign to Oblivion, and that's going to... Is it casting Oblivion? Can you even do that?
There are some weird rules with
some super weird
how
rules.
split cards work, and it always depends on how the card is worded. For example, it works differently with Snapcaster Mage, with Jace, and Torrential Gearhulk.
So, my understanding, as the rule, I mean, we've got 3,000 or 4,000 judges watching this match, so they're much in a better position to say that this is how it works here. But my understanding is the Torrential Gearhulk targeted Consign, which is the card Consign to Oblivion. It targeted one half of the card, which then let it cast the other half at instant speed.
Yeah.
And it turns out that a free instant speed Mind Rod, Simon, is pretty good, especially when your opponent has 2 cards in hand.
Exactly. Piotr did get 2 drakes out of the deal, though, so it wasn't completely unfair.
Next level plays from Sam Rolf. This is what we said. This guy, he knows his eggs. Censor. Taken off the search for Ascanta, and that's good for 2 more drakes here for Glukhovsky. But it cast out as well. Okay, huge plays here for Glukhovsky. This is what he needed as the Scarab God gets taken off the battlefield. That Torrential Gearhulk, merely a token, and can be held off by those drakes. And all of a sudden, can you smell that on the wind? It is a sniff. It is the sniff of hope, Simon Gertzen, for Peter Glukhovsky.
I mean, Glukhovsky was playing for the long game here. Some people might know him as a Lantern player in Modern. He's used to grinding games out till the bitter end.
They call him the Doctor because of his patience. And this guy is really going to show that right now, right here, as he continues to attempt to turn the corner. 2 more drakes is going to make Sam Rolf's life hellish when it comes to attacking, and that useless Censor is cycled away very easily by Glukhovsky. And this could be one of the most incredible comebacks here that we're going to see. Glukhovsky has a nice full grip, and I tell you what it's all come down to, Simon. It's not going to surprise anyone to learn. Ascanta the Sunken Ruin. Josh Adelaide, he described the card as broken, and right now we're seeing it at its very best in both of these blue decks.
Absolutely. It makes blue control decks viable. That's how I would describe it. It's just so good. It's actually almost unfortunate if you build a deck that can only play 2 Search for Ascantas. I like it much better that Piotr, for example, has 3 in the main deck.
So, we will see these dueling Ascantas. But right now, 8 damage in the air for Sam Rolf. His hand is looking a little silly against a token-based strategy. 2 Essence Scatters, 1 Fatal Push, and a Vraska's Contempt. He can forestall, well, he can stem some of the bleeding here, but he's still in a tough spot. Essence Scatter again, a point removal spell that doesn't fare too well, and a Settle the Wreckage to take care of this Torrential Gearhulk. Another land for Sam Rolfe, but pretty aggressive deployment of that Settle there, Simon.
Yeah, he just got rid of the Scarab God, which was the big threat. He didn't even need to settle the wreckage on that Gearhulk. I'm actually a bit surprised by that. I would have expected him to take the damage or to try to block it with tokens.
Well, in hand, we see another cast out. It's going to be cycled. Yes, indeed. 2 more Drake tokens. And look at this. More Drakes than your local record store, ladies and gentlemen. As Glukhovsky, all of a sudden, has completely turned this game around. Sam Rolfe, I mean, he's been the victim of some pretty poor draw steps, you have to say, drawing point removal spells and Essence Scatters against a Drakehaven deck, but we are seeing the raw power of this strategy push Peter Glukhovsky further and further towards the W.
But this is to be expected if you're playing Blueback Control pre-board against a deck which just doesn't play any creatures. That's just an incredible piece of metagaming that we're seeing.
Another search for Azcanta activation, Azcanta the Sunken Ruin, I should say, from Sam Rolfe, and he finds a Hieroglyphic Illumination and a Vraska's Contempt. Now, that's a real stinker. That's a real stinker. 4 mana to deal with a card or a token that didn't even cost Glukhovsky a card, and a Fatal Push as well. But you wouldn't imagine those Drakes are going to be taken away for too long here. Big attacks, 8 more damage in the air. What can Rolfe do?
I don't think there is anything he can do at this stage. And like I said, once Piotr has a Drakehaven in play, that once he resolves a Drakehaven, it's just incredibly difficult for Sam Rolfe. This changes a bit after sideboarding, but here you can see he could basically draw most of his deck and still have no answer to this board state.
No, there's no mass removal. There's no enchantment removal critically as well. Blue-black known for being very, very weak to enchantments, which means that these Drakehavens they're here to stay. 5 more mana, and it's another Scarab God here, and Glukhovsky has the answer in Countervailing Winds. This you'd think would be enough. Sam Rolfe running out of time, running out of options. And Glukhovsky, all he's got to do is attack twice more in the air, and that is it, all over Red Rover. 4 mana. Activation of Azcanta once again, and you just can't lose. You can't lose.
No, and Azcanta also feels much more powerful in the white-blue cycling deck once it gets
I was going to say, you can't lose unless you're Sam Rolfe here, who also has Azcanta the Sunken Ruin. But anyway, you're absolutely right, Simon. You saved me. You did. It's a great piece of analysis there. I think that Azcanta, it does shine because it leads to cyclers, which will then snowball into further cycling. If you're drawing 2 cards a turn with cycling, making Drakes, you're getting it done.
And your threats are just more mana efficient. He actually sacrificed a desert there. Chef had Dunes to pump his team.
Oh, wow. The big aggro players here from Glukhovsky. He's played this masterfully, my friends. If you are going to pick up this white-blue cycling deck for yourself, you are going to want to come back and watch this match because you will learn a thing or two about how it shakes out. Glukhovsky, a stone-cold master at decks like this. Famous Lantern control player, as you mentioned, Simon. Rolfe checks in with the top cards of his library. We saw a Liliana's Death Majesty there. But is it going to be enough? Or is Rolfe going to have to pack it up, go to game number 2 here? Let's have a look. Rolfe carefully considering his options. He picks up all 4 cards, and that precipitates the concession. Sam Rolfe goes down to Peter Glukhovsky after some of the tightest and most patient play you're going to see from a player here in this top 8. Glukhovsky, well, I love the way he played to win that match. I love it.
Yeah, that was great, and I think it's going to continue to be great after sideboarding.
We'll see how things go in games number 2 and potentially 3 between the other players here. But right now, head back over to Table C. Over here, we have Philip Griffiths, of course, Pip on the left-hand side of your screen. The Welsh captain has been for a number of years. And on the right-hand side, it is, of course, Radek Kazmachik here. We saw Kazmachik go down in game number 1. How are things looking now in game number 2 for Kazmachik?
He is ahead in life, and he has a Hazard in play. But Philip has found some ways to stabilize here. The question is, does he have enough removal to really stem the bleeding? This Glorybringer is always scary.
Certainly has some hard-hitting heavyweights on his side of the battlefield here, Kazmachik. And Griffiths having to think very long and hard about how he wants to deal with this. His Bomat Courier a little bit embarrassing in the face of Hazoret the Fervent and Glorybringer. Although it looks like Hazoret has been knocked down to just a little squire there. Just a 2-1.
This purple die means there are -1/-1 counters on Hazoret, and that means it got damaged when Soulscar Mage was on the battlefield.
One of the very few ways for a red deck to remove a Hazoret the Fervent is with the flavor text on a card like Soulscar Mage. But it can get it done. And all of a sudden, an indestructible hasty 2-1 is, well, a lot less scary.
Philip is forced to race here. He needs to deal enough damage to kill Radek before Radek can untap with his Glorybringer or just throw cards or deserts at Philip's face.
So Griffith's attacking with his own dragon there, and we obviously don't see an exert because both creatures are Glorybringer immune on Kazmachik's side. Glorybringer can't target other dragons. And, well, targeting a Hazoret would be about as useful as a chocolate teapot, to be honest. Wouldn't have any effect whatsoever. So Griffiths on 5. A precarious life total, one could say.
This game is coming down to the wire. You can see Radek is on 7, Philip is on 5. Radek cannot deal 5 damage easily with just Hazorets and Ramanap Ruins. Philip can't deal 7 so easily because he's only threatening 6 damage with Glorybringer and Bomat Courier.
But let's have a peek at what's in his hand here, Simon. Oops.
More Glorybringers.
More Glorybringers, more dragons here for Philip Griffiths, entirely on theme this weekend as well. Big red dragons ready to get it done for the Welsh captain. Is he going to seal the deal here?
Well, absolutely. This looks like he's just going to have the second Glorybringer. And what is Ramanap Red going to do about it?
Are we going to see a red dragon fly across the battlefield and propel the Welsh captain to victory? Here is the Glorybringer as we see them slam across. And look at this, an on-flavor victory for Philip Griffiths. He's brought his team of dragons both on the cards and in his team. And he has got it done for Team Wales in one of the most amazing circumstances we've seen. The Dragons are up and about. And now, Table B. A crucial match between these two here. Aaron Boyan for Wales up against Gregor Kowalski, another famous player here in Poland. But he's on 1. Boyan gone down in game number 2. Oh, excuse me. Those life totals have been updated. Looks like Kowalski is sitting a little prettier than this. And now Boyan on 2. He's in a tight spot. Rogue Refiner. Going to draw a card, buffer that energy up here. Looks like Kowalski's on the 4-color plan, whereas Boyan choosing to stick to 3 colors. Nissa, Steward of Elements, coming down here.
Yeah, Kowalski is playing the list that we saw Piotr Glukhovsky pilot to a top 8 finish at Proto Ixalan. Or very, very close to that list.
So Kowalski now has to find a way to poke through those final points of damage. Boyan's hand is looking all right with a Rogue Refiner and a Vizier of Many Faces.
Look at that. River's Rebuke.
Easy enough for Kowalski as he pushes through the final points of damage. River's Rebuke, a huge card in the mirror there. And that means that Poland even things up 1-1 here as Boyan goes down. And we're going to see players move around now to consult each other. And Boyan takes the left turn there, where obviously Pip Griffiths has already wrapped things up. So Kowalski, he's done well to win. Pip Griffiths, double dragon across the sky to get it done for Team Wales. It's all locked up at 1-1, which means, Simon, it's going to come down to this Azcanta mirror match.
Yeah, and we could be sitting here for a while. This is not a fast matchup as we saw in Game 1.
No, actually, that's a very good point because, of course, the other 2 tables have full-on match results, whereas these guys are still shuffling up after game number 1 here. But look, these players will now benefit from the advantage of having their teammates alongside them if they so choose. And I saw an enormously collaborative effort yesterday from Wales. I anticipate we're going to see it once again here. Sam Rolfe was flanked by both of his teammates, Aaron Boyan and Pip Griffiths, as he took down Reed Duke. And the camaraderie, the collaboration, the trust that these players put in each other was really, really heartwarming to see, Simon.
Absolutely, yeah. We had a great time yesterday. These I really like the pool play with where every team has up to 3 rounds to fight for advancement, but it's still a double elimination, so you can't lose 2 out of these 3 matches, which I think is absolutely fair.
Yeah, it led to a great atmosphere, a very one that was full of triumph, but still full of hope for those who were vanquished. We had some that went obviously right down to the wire, and of course, as we've already mentioned this morning, the highlight of yesterday, the USA-Wales match that put Wales into the position they are now. You can see here Sam Rolfe, he's getting into the zone. He's sorting himself out as we have a little bit of a dragon sandwich assembling here. He is the burger between the 2 buns in this situation. Pip Griffiths also coming across to lend his considerable expertise. And now we will see. We will see both of these players playing decks that benefit from having Search for Azcanta, but have very different approach to it. Blue-black on one side in the hands of Sam Rolfe and Peter Glukhovsky on blue-white cycling. And Simon, as we head into the post-board games, who's your eye on? Who have you got as pegged for the favourite here?
I think that Piotr is the favorite. He showed in game 1 that a single Drakehaven is already problematic. He had 2 of them in play at some point. He has 3 in his main deck and 4 after sideboarding. I'm very certain that he will bring in the 4th one because it's just the key piece to the puzzle for him.
So Glukhovsky, he will be coming in with a lot of quiet confidence. He's something of a reserved player. I've interacted with him a few times in the European GP circuit, and he's never sort of too out there when he's discussing his deck choices, his card choices, his strategy. But there's a lot of energy in that pocket rocket. He's going to get it done when it comes to the cold hard decisions that need to be made on the battlefield.
Absolutely. In fact, if I'm sitting there, if I would be sitting there with Piotr, I would trust him almost completely to just play this matchup very, very close to optimally.
One of the advantages that Team Poland will benefit from here is the language barrier equity, because of course the Wales team. I mean, I know they've been practicing their Welsh. I don't know how it's sort of gone when it's come to getting all the Magic terminology across, but. Of course, the Poles, they'll be able to sit there and chat away. They'll be able to jibber-jabber away in Polish and not have the Welsh team too far up on their plans. But with the Welsh resorting to English, this is something that, a lot of the Anglophone countries around the world sort of, they've got to pay the price. They've got to pay the price.
Well, you do have some advantages from having the lingua franca as your mother tongue, so...
That is also true, yeah.
I think that's just fair.
In every other situation other than the World Magic Cup, being able to speak English is a bit of an advantage. I guess that's fair. But no, here it is certainly a price to pay. Certainly a price to pay, and we're going to see the Poles benefit from this. But, oh dearie me, Sam Rolfe looks like he's down to 6 here, Simon.
This is a control mirror, which will take long either way. You can take mulligans, and as we've seen in Game 1, a lot of your cards are so low impact that it doesn't make a big difference if you actually draw them or not.
So you're saying here that a mulligan to 6 in the control mirror is perhaps less crippling than when we've got 2 red decks facing off against each other?
Exactly. Sam can look at a hand of 6 lands and keep it if he wants. It's not what he's looking for, but he has a bit more leeway.
Well, he's scried to the bottom, and we are off to the races in what may be the final match, and opening with an Evolving Wilds here. And it looks like, well, decent mix of lands and spells here for Rolfe. I guess that scry wasn't going to matter too much one way or the other. I can almost guarantee that this Evolving Wilds is going to the graveyard. Yes, it is. Glukhovsky, he kept 7. And as we've discussed, Simon, a bit of a slower texture to this match. But Glukhovsky will be looking to get it done very, very quickly indeed. He's already won game number 1. He's looking to double down on that and finish things off in game number 2 and propel Poland all the way into the top 4 in the semi-finals. Plenty more action coming your way this weekend as we get ever closer to awarding another World Cup to one of the teams that have assembled here this weekend. It's been a pleasure so far to bring you coverage of this event from Nice in France. Riley Knight, Simon Gertzen alongside the rest of team coverage. It's been so much fun so far, and we're looking forward to finishing things off positively throughout today. We certainly thank you for your company and hope it continues as coverage of this event will be, we're sticking around for a while, Simon. We've still got a lot of Magic to come.
Absolutely. This is just the beginning. And Piotr has 2 Drakehavens in his hand, so he's looking pretty there. Sam Rolfe will have to first try to counter these cards. He will want to censor them if Piotr allows that. He will want to negate them, but I think he didn't get the negates in his lineup. He has to rely on cards like Jace's Defeat or Duress to take out Drakehaven before they hit the battlefield.
Sam Rolfe here is going to go in on Gonti, the Lord of Luxury. Glukhovsky choosing to play around censor there. Obviously, he had the 2 Drakehavens, values them highly enough that he doesn't want to run them into the censor that Sam Rolfe could have had. And so the first play here really is this Gonti on turn number 4.
But this means Sam isn't even trying to deny Drakehavens from hitting the battlefield. And I have to think that that's already a bit of a concession, because Piotr now knows, okay, I will be able to resolve this Drakehaven, and I can play the game plan that worked so nicely in game 1.
Censor, Torrential Gearhulk, and Drakehaven itself options here for Rolfe. Looks like one of them, I didn't see what it was. It wasn't the Drakehaven. It may indeed be the Torrential Gearhulk. You'd certainly think that would be highest when it comes to just raw power level.
Of course, and Sam is playing Torrential Gearhulk himself, so that's a card that he makes very good use of.
Having the 5th one could be very useful.
He can't really use Drakehaven in a way, in the same way as Piotr does.
No, only cards like Censor. I mean, I guess, could he maybe target himself with Oblivion to really get it done? That's going very, very deep indeed. But no, of course, as you're right, Simon, there, you're not really going to be looking to leverage a Drakehaven here as Gonti gets across, hustling and bustling. And Glukhovsky down to 18 now.
And Sam is the aggro deck here.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to see Liliana Death's Majesty help him propel his battlefield presence further. But what does this mean? What does Glukhovsky have to do?
Well, if Sam is an aggressive blue-black control deck, that means Piotr has to draw out the game, not take too much damage, of course deal with Liliana in the process. But the thing is, blue-black control does not put in as much pressure as some other decks in the format. You can just take a few points of damage here as long as it's just 2-power creatures. So if Piotr deals with Liliana here and then starts making Drake tokens, I think he will be in a great position.
So Glukhovsky, 1 Drake token, 1 Drakehaven already online here. And looks like we're going to cycle away this Hieroglyphic Illumination for no value. Well, thinks better of it. No. He's consulting with his teammates here, but ultimately decides against it. And while he's got a little bit of time up his sleeve, he does need to find his way forward. Oh, and a cast out as well in hand for Glukhovsky, a pair of them, in fact. Looking to deploy that here, Simon?
Yeah, I would have thought that he wants to deal with Liliana here. See what he does. I think the discussion that Team Poland had was whether to cycle one of these cards because finding lands is just so important.
Attack 4 now, Glukhovsky. Maybe he feels he can pressure the Liliana with the Flying Drake tokens?
I didn't think that this was the plan because see that there's a Fumigate in Glukhovsky's hand. You do want to use that card at some point. So I was expecting a cast out on Liliana and then a Fumigate to clean up the board.
Well, as it is, Rolfe now. Looks like he's going to cast this Hieroglyphic Illumination. I think he's looking for lands here, Simon.
Yeah, he's going to cycle because he needs to keep open mana. This approach that Sam has taken has been very aggressive. He knew that he had to put pressure onto the battlefield early, so he had to tap out and allow Drakehaven to resolve. That would have been the alternative game plan, just holding up counter magic for as long as possible.
Glukhovsky now showing the way that this deck can turn the corner as we saw a Censor and a Hieroglyphic Illumination cycled in response to Sam Rolfe's cycling here. And a Consign to Oblivion a little late on that Drakehaven there as it returns to Glukhovsky's hand. So Rolfe cycled the Hieroglyphic Illumination, cast the Consign to Oblivion, didn't find the land, so it's back to Glukhovsky.
But he isn't even holding... He isn't even holding anything to stop Drakehaven from coming down again. He's playing a pure tempo game. I don't know if that's really what he can afford to do.
Not the way forward here for Sam Rolfe, according to Simon Gertzen here. The Drakehavens, they're going to tussle with Liliana, and I mean, that's a quick clock here. Liliana's threatening to go down next turn.
Piotr needs to deal with Liliana, and once he has done that, then we will see him try to resolve Fumigate. There is going to be a bit of a sweat where Sam, if he has counter magic for Fumigate, then Piotr might be in a bit of of a trouble.
The Polish team here consulting. Simon, you mentioned before that Peter Glukhovsky is someone that you would trust to navigate his way through a match like this by himself, but he's going to benefit from the input from his teammates. Is there a point at which you have too many Polish cooks ruining the broth, or?
And not just Polish. I think in team play, it's really important to know which players to consult in which moments, how to do it. Some people are very sensitive when it comes to, telling them what you think, because they don't want to disagree with you in a sense. Of course, these three players have been playing together for the whole weekend.
Yeah,
I'm sure they figured it out. It's just something to be aware of. Not everybody just wants to hear your thoughts at all times.
And we've seen this. The best example for me is the Japanese team. Not as collaborative as you'd think on the battlefield. I'm sure, behind closed doors, when they're building sealed pools, when they're discussing tactics and strategies and building decks, that they are in each other's ear holes the entire time. But when it comes to actual game time, these guys leave each other alone. Maybe they'll watch, maybe they'll spectate, a little bit of an update here and there, but no, they don't chat too much.
And my default is the same. If my teammates have no questions, then I'm not gonna just offer my opinions at random times, because I don't want to disturb their thought process or to give anything away.
So Liliana here, it's going to be the middle ability on Liliana Death's Majesty, which is returning the Scarab God to the battlefield. So we've now got a God zombie. Often the Scarab God brings back zombies, of course, but doesn't often trigger its own ability. So that'll be a nice little achievement unlocked here for Sam Rolfe.
And that's suddenly a bit of a scarier battlefield. And we have to once again go back to the decision not to cast out the Liliana, because now Liliana upgraded herself into a Scarab God that you can't just attack down with Drake tokens.
So Glukhovsky is going to take a bit of a licking from this Scarab God trigger here, by the look of things, unless he's going to just go in all in on the Fumigate.
I was expecting Fumigate to be the mid-game plan for Piotr, and it's even nice because you don't really rely on all that damage. You can block with your Drake tokens and afterwards Fumigate. Or you Fumigate, and if there's counter magic, you have the Drake tokens back to block.
So Glukhovsky asked the question of Sam Rolfe, do you have anything for this cast out? And the fact of the matter is that Rolfe indeed does, with a cast out, and no fourth land for Glukhovsky means he can't recast it, but a countervailing wins has something to say about that cast out, about that consign. Mana leak, essentially, and luckily for Glukhovsky, Rolfe down to 2 available mana. So, gets there, the cast out, remains on the battlefield, and Glukhovsky keeps his head above water here. He keeps himself in it.
And this is huge. The amount of counter magic available to Piotr is actually higher than for Sam. And if Sam brings in Jace's Defeat, he can countervailing winds, but he will not be able to counter something like Fumigate. So it's really tricky for Team Wales to use their spells correctly here.
Rolfe, with the triple block on the Lord of Luxury, of course, Death Touch, Gonti means Gonti can only take down 2 of them. But Glukhovsky, I'm sure, will find many more where they came from. And you see that face-down card there can still be cast by Sam Rolfe, for all intents and purposes, in his hand when it comes to him being able to cast it. Just sort of some rules gymnastics done for Gonti's ability to function properly, and certainly comes at the cost of a pretty stacked text box there. Animate dead? Anyone?
Hostage Taker is simpler somehow.
Somehow. Torrential Gearhulk now off the top, and here is the consign once again on the cast out. Sam Rolfe looking to turn the corner on this match, on this game in fact, and Glukhovsky doesn't have too much more to say. Facing down a huge board, it's Fumigate time for sure here, Simon.
I'm really sure, and you see that Piotr has taken his time here, but he will be the one passing the turn with the Drake Haven in play. Okay, Sam does get back the Scarab God, but that's something that you just have to accept.
And this is what, when there's the attack into an absolutely stacked board, you know what's up. And indeed, we all know what's up. It's Fumigate. That's what's up. And these cards going to hit the bin here. Well, for a short time at least when it comes to the Scarab, got a brief respite in the graveyard. And the Torrential Gearhulk returns to the rightful owner's graveyard here. Glukhovsky, 2 mana available to him. Doesn't have too much to do with it. Can cycle a Renewed Faith, but that's not going to get him the value that he needs here.
No, what he can do is he can cycle a 1 mana card and make a Drake token. I think you don't need 3 cast outs. There are not too many must-deal threats.
And that's exactly what we see happen here. Drake comes down. Finds a land as well. Nice one. Ships the turn back to Sam Rolf. Rolf's hand, Torrential Gearhulk, Gonti, Lord of Luxury as well. See what else he's working with here. But this game has slowed down a little bit. That Fumigate was certainly a nice way for Glukhovsky to hit the brakes, try to reset, gained himself some life as well. And here's another Gonti. 4 cards off the top. Rolf really benefiting from, well, not too much that he can choose here, but really benefiting from the all the card advantage that he can get here. Oh no. He better not choose to flip it. And this is exactly what Glukhovsky is checking here. Search for Azcanta will return under the control of Glukhovsky, I'm reasonably certain. Or maybe it just flips. It doesn't exile. It's not like
Jace. It's not like the Origin Walkers.
Okay, all right, because they were that was real troublesome. No, so that's okay. That's all good. The search will flip and stay on Rolf's side of the battlefield, so that's not an issue. And
that's actually 2 cards. The 2 cards that Sam found with the Gonti, Search for Azcanta and Torrential Gearhulk, those were some really good hits, because if you just find Cyclers and maybe a Drakehaven, that's not all that great for 4 mana, 2/3. So, Glukhovsky here. His cycling deck is, well, it's firing on some cylinders at least. We've got 1 Drakehaven. It's made a couple of 2/2s. But Rolf, not playing much of a control matchup here. I mean, he's a control role here. As you mentioned, he's looking to get on the front foot, swish the Willow around, and crack one towards the fences. You can't play this infinite game of draw-go against a deck that's full of Cyclers, 4 Drakehavens, and counter magic.
You're much better at drawing and going.
You're just gonna lose to that if the game goes longer. And so Team Wells decided we will just play our threats and hope for the best, and that's what they are doing. But I think it's just not a way to win this matchup. You can see here, 2 Drakehavens have appeared once again for Piotr, and what are you going to do about that if you're blue-black control? There just aren't answers in this deck.
Double Drakes. Double Drakehaven here, and we can already see 1 Consign to Oblivion in the graveyard. And I mean, as useful as Oblivion may be in future turns, that Consign, that's all done and dusted. There's no further answers apart from perhaps the one other copy of Consign to Oblivion that Rolf is playing. But blue-black against enchantments, we know how this works, Simon. The answer, not well. Gonti.
Also dealing with 1 Drakehaven at this stage and then maybe forcing a discard. That just gives Piotr more Drakes from his other haven. So it's not like that's somehow a solution to his problems.
No, this is the thing. As long as there's mana up, even a Mind Rot in the form of Oblivion won't hamper Glukhovsky too much. Look, I'll just discard these, make some Drakes. No worries. Thanks for that, mate. Rolf, 5 mana. It's going to be the Scarab God once again.
And the Scarab God is the only card that is keeping Sam Rolf in the game. That's the card that is threatening to win the... Not win the race, but it makes it possible for him to race Drakehaven.
Renewed faith here for Glukhovsky. Kicking it old school, the pole, as we see 2 more Drakes come down.
He has an old school and new school renewed faith in his deck.
Yeah. He's a student of all the schools. Spent a lot of time in the classroom, this boy. Now, Rolf, he's in a tough spot now, as Glukhovsky edges further and further towards victory. And it's a rough situation for Rolf. We saw him try to get off to an aggressive start, and he did a very good job. Liliana, Death's Majesty, in addition to Gonti, provided some early beats, but a well-timed Fumigate, in addition to a little bit of dancing around the Scarab God here, and that really has been the biggest card, as you mentioned. It's kept Rolf in the game, and it's meant that Glukhovsky hasn't just been able to whack the car into cruise control and cruise down the highway. He's had to play an honest game of Magic here.
Oh, absolutely. And now, I mean, the Scarab God is a huge threat. It's also threatening to reanimate Torrential Gearhulk. So it's not like Piotr is just completely crushing this game, but from a long-term strategic perspective, Drakehaven is the scarier threat than the Scarab God. Just how the threats and answers line up in this matchup.
Consigned to Oblivion, the only answer really that Rolf has to these enchantments, and you can see both of them have already been cast. One has been flashed back with a Torrential Gearhulk earlier. And right now, the other one, sitting on the top of Rolf's library, or graveyard, I should say. Probably at this stage, both of them have about as many cards in them. This is deep into game number 2 here at the World Magic Cup. You're in the booth with Riley Knight. Alongside me, it is Simon Gertzen. He's out of Germany. It's a pleasure to bring you live coverage of this event, and it'll continue throughout the day. We hope you can stick around and share in all the excitement and the fun that has come around from this incredible event. 6 damage in the air for Glukhovsky here as he starts to put on pressure on Sam.
The fact that Piotr is attacking here shows you how far he feels he's ahead. Rolf is using the Scarab God on a Gonti instead of Torrential Gearhulk here.
Okay. Lord of Luxury coming back. Going to get another card from Glukhovsky here. He's having his cards nicked left, right, and centre by the Lord of Luxury here. And look at this. Couple of interesting options here. What are you looking at here, Simon?
I love Cast Out. It's pretty surprising that he found one of those, given that Glukhovsky was holding 3 at some stage. But that's actually an answer to Drakehaven.
That is one of the ways here, but it's not the choice that Rolf makes.
Did you see what he took?
It wasn't the Renewed Faith, was it?
Maybe he's just dead next turn otherwise. 5 Drake tokens attacking for 10.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's it. That is it. Glukhovsky in a position now to make 1 million squillion Drakes if he wants to. But it's just going to be the Scarab God while Rolf is tapped out. Okay, so Rolf, in what may be one of the last turns of this game, and indeed of this match, Gonti comes in for 4. Glukhovsky down to 10. Glukhovsky will be looking to make some huge attacks in the air. His board has been built out expertly. No shonky builders when it's come to Glukhovsky. His Drakehavens, the way that he's delicately danced around the Scarab God, and he's now in a position where he wants to turn the screws, finally get those nails into the coffin here of the Welsh. And these Dragon Boys, well, they need something special, I'll tell you that much.
Actually, a pretty tough cycle here. You are quite happy to have Cast Out and Countervailing Winds in your hand.
But of course, cycling one of them would represent a lethal clock here for Rolf. So Glukhovsky, I mean, you've got to do it, right?
I think you do. And you have to consider what's more relevant. Do you need to deal with a permanent, or do you need to deal with a spell?
It looks like it's going to be Cast Out. This is the debate underway for the polls right now. A tense moment as this game heads towards a pretty thrilling conclusion. It will be a Cast Out, but it looks like it's only going to be a single Drake, leaving up that Countervailing Winds at all times here. Wow, Glukhovsky not taking any risks here, Simon.
Yeah, and it's understandable. He knows that there are very few ways to actually lose this, but Torrential Gearhulk into something amazing could be one of them. And if you have that much control over the battlefield, you would like to win this turn, but you don't have to. You can just take it one turn slower and win with double counter backup.
And that's what's going to happen here, Glukhovsky. 2 counterspells in hand, in addition to a Hieroglyphic Illumination as well to dig him further towards cards that he needs and make more Drakes if the need arises. Sam Rolf in a tough spot, ladies and gentlemen. Glukhovsky, lethal attackers on board next turn. Double counterspell in hand. Team Poland potentially minutes away from a semi-final appearance at the 2017 World Magic Cup. How are things going to pan out here? Rolf dives into the sunken ruin. What can he find beneath those shimmering waters? Sensor is the best he can do. Essence Scatter and Deadeye Tracker no good, as is the Scarab God. Cycles the sensor straight away. Rips a fresh one off the top. He does not have many more moments left here, Simon. Can he find what he needs? On 4 life. Lethal attacks in the air. Disallow the draw. An attack with Gonti. Glukhovsky down to 6 here. But Simon Gertzen, is it all over?
I think it is. If Piotr would reveal his hand here, 2 countervailing wins, that's just not something that Sam Rolf can win against. He can't even beat the Flyers as they stand, and Piotr knows that there's not anything resolving here. Maybe he's even contemplating blocking.
The Poles, considering their last-ditch efforts here, as they march onwards to victory here against the Welsh. What could go wrong? Well, there's going to be the safety block just in case. A single mystery card under Gonti, Lord of Luxury. Is there anything that could turn things around here for Rolf? Glukhovsky cycles a hieroglyphic illumination. 2 more Drakes enter the battlefield. They by themselves represent a lethal attack. Sam Rolf checks with the contents of his hand. Is there anything at all that the Dragons can come up with here, or will the day belong to the Drakes? Glukhovsky draws off of the hieroglyphic illumination. He goes to untap. This could be it, ladies and gentlemen. A card off the top here for Glukhovsky as he begins what could be the last turn of the match. Glacial Fortress, in with the team, reveals off of the Gonti. It is a renewed faith, which will put him up to 10, but the attack is exactly for 10. What can Rolf do here? Search for Azcanta still an option for him, or the Azcanta the Sunken Ruin, as Rolf goes up to 10 life, facing 10 power in the air.
He has to find a removal spell here.
Torrential Gearhulk and an extension of the hand as Team Poland find their way into the semi-finals of the 2017 World Magic Cup. Handshakes all around as Team Dragon, the Welsh, bow out very gracefully from the tournament. What a campaign they've run. What a weekend they've had. But right now, it is all about Team Poland victorious at long, long last, finding their way into the top 4 teams here. As we bring it back to the booth, ladies and gentlemen, a heart-palpitating round and the heartiest of congratulations to Team Poland. After some very aggressive matches on the back tables, Simon, it came down to a long, hard slog with the blue decks, and it looks like cycling was definitely the deck for that match. It just completely took over the game. Search for Azcanta in a much better position in that deck. That's what you were saying there. Blue-white cycling really brought it to bear.
The threat of Drakehaven is just better than all the threats in the blue-black control deck combined.
Yeah, and the deck with the blue-black deck wasn't able to pivot to take an aggressive posture, and as a result, Team Poland, they got there. My friends, I've got some great news for you. So much more Magic coming your way. You're not going to want to miss a minute of it, my friends. The other half of the quarterfinal bracket is coming your way very, very soon. Thanks for hanging out with us so far. We've got to go to a break. On the other side of it, however, we're going to check back in with the news desk, and before much longer, more action from the feature match area. Simon Gertzen, Riley Knight, we're out of here for now, but we'll see you back here in Nice in France at the World Magic Cup very, very soon.
Welcome back to the news desk, and what a great final game that was. Wales versus Poland. Tim Willoughby down on the floor now with the winners.
Here with a very happy Team Poland. That was quite a show you put on for us, guys. Of course, in the aggro match at the back table, it was Wales taking it down with Double Dragon. Then in our mid-range match in the middle, Team Energy was the one that picked it up. Now, Glukhovsky, how does it feel having it kind of out of your hands watching the last game as you see the two slow decks battling against one another? Would you rather have been in that seat playing, or are you happy to be watching?
I mean, I obviously would like to play that match, but I trust Canister. He plays well with the deck, so like I was just calm watching his playing, and like I knew he's gonna do his best, so he was fine.
And you guys are now through to the Final Four. Soon enough, you're going to get a chance to play a little bit more Magic here in this World Magic Cup Top 8, the first Polish World Magic Cup Top 8. For now, I'm going to let you guys head back to the area and get a chance to watch a little bit more Magic. We'll be watching a whole lot more Magic, and best of luck to you as we hit these final stages of the elimination here at the World Magic Cup.
Tim, all right, let's take a look at our bracket as to what we've already seen this morning and go through what we're going to see later on this afternoon. Plenty of more Magic coming your way here at the 2017 World Magic Cup. All right, so first this morning, we saw Germany facing off against Slovakia, and of course, Germany coming out on top of there. Wales versus Poland, we just saw Poland coming out over Wales.
Yeah, so Simon, you were in the booth for both of those. In a sense, neither were a particular shock. But I got a sense, I listened to a little bit of your commentary, you got a sense that maybe the Drakes versus Dragons match, if you like, at the end there, could have gone differently. Not if a particular decision had been made, but a whole different approach had been taken, perhaps, on the Welsh side.
It's just very difficult to beat the Drakehaven deck, and you have to decide almost from the start, almost before you sit down, am I going to fight for Drakehaven entering the battlefield? So am I playing a pure control approach where I want to counter these 4 threats? Or do I just tap out and try to win with my Gaunties, my Lilianas, my Scarab Gods? I thought that the approach that Wales took was not likely to win, but if we are being fair, probably both of these approaches are very hard to make work.
Is this kind of where we're seeing the Haven deck maybe get a foot up over a Gift deck, where Wales' deck might have been better positioned against a God Pharaoh's Gift deck?
Yeah, the thing is, Drakehaven is this 3-mana threat that is just crushing control decks. We saw in game 1, what was it? Essence extractions, fatal pushes, Vraska's Contempt cast on Drake tokens. That's not how you win in Magic if your opponent is drawing extra cards and making these Drake tokens for free.
Sure, so we've had a great morning already with Germany and Poland heading for a rematch once again. They played yesterday, so we will see Germany-Poland in our first semi-final, but we still have 2 open seats. So let's get to quarter-final 3, and honestly, this one looks like the best of the bunch. Maria, who have we got?
All right, so here they are, Team Japan. They are a powerhouse. Everybody had them at the top of their brackets probably coming into this tournament. Captain Yuya Watanabe, Kenta Hirane, Shota Yasaoka, 8 Pro Tour top 8s, 111 Pro Tours amongst them, 51 Grand Prix top 8s as well. This is a force to be reckoned with, but what did they bring to the table as far as decks are concerned? Shota Yasaoka playing Ramunap Red in seat A. Yuya Watanabe on 4-color energy, there you see it in seat B, and Kenta Hirane in seat C playing White-Blue Gift. But let's focus in a little bit on Ramunap Red here. Simon, how do you like what Shota brought to this tournament?
Well, first of all, I was very surprised to see Shota playing Ramunap
quite unusual.
Red. Blue-black control, yes. White-blue approach, okay, but Ramunap Red, no. I like this deck a lot, and I think especially Rampaging Ferocidon has been a card that has pulled so much weight, because a lot of teams are playing exactly this setup. Red aggressive deck, Temur Energy, and then a blue-white Gift. If you can stick a Rampaging Ferocidon, I think your matchup just turns around. You're suddenly favored against blue-white.
All right, great stuff. What about Austria then? Because that's who's up against Japan. Here they come. You've got Oliver Polak-Rotman, the captain, in the middle there. Elias Klocker, the national champion, and Adrian Johann Schrenk, the finalist there. And their 3 decks. We have Klocker on 4-color control. Then you've got Adrian Schrenk, who will be playing White-Blue Gift, and Oliver Polak-Rotman, Ramunap Red. I guess the Gift deck is perhaps the most interesting of these 3, Simon.
Yes, the The Austrians are somewhere in the middle between very creative and very standard. They didn't go full out, for example, like Germany did with the 2 aggro decks. But I talked to Oliver Polak-Rotman. He's very confident in his matchup against Japan. I would say going up against the clear favorites, just if you look at Proto experience. So that's going to be interesting if his predictions come true.
All right, Maria, walk us through the 3 matchups then, because this is what really counts, who's against who. Just walk us through the 3.
All right, Shota Yasaoka playing Ramunap Red versus Elias Clocker, 4-color control. Yuya Watanabe and 4-color energy versus Adrian Schrenk, White-Blue God Pharaoh's Gift. Kenta Hirane, White-Blue God Pharaoh's Gift for him versus Oliver Polak-Rotman playing Ramunap Red.
Simon, one word, who wins?
Looking at the matchups, Austria is favored.
Did I ask for one word or did I ask for one word? It's time for the 3rd quarterfinal here at the World Magic Cup.